Early, we do have a tornado warning. I want to get you right over to our first warning live Doppler radar. Tornado warning issued through 8:30 this morning for Marion County. I've been tweeting about this cell over the last couple of moments' time because this cell has been close to Marion. It prompted a tornado warning first over in Levy County, and of course now it has gotten a little closer. I got to tell you, out of all the radar sources that we have access to, it is our first warning live Doppler radar that has the best coverage of this. So what you're looking at here is the velocity product, and I want to point out what velocity indicates for a tornado. It's this area right in here. It's the red close to the green. When you see red near green, that lets you know, in the cheesiest sense of the term, this cell is mean, right? That's where you've got rotation in the atmosphere. So the tornado warning signature technically is just outside of Marion County, but it very well may kind of get close enough. So let's just zoom in and give you an idea of where that rotation is. It's along 121. It's just off to the west of Romeo, just off to the west of US Highway 41. But widening the perspective out, let me pop over to our normal conventional radar, and it would be a rain-wrapped tornado if it is a tornado at all. I think for the most part, this is going to stay just outside of Marion County, but around Williston and Micanopy, in that extreme northwestern nook and cranny there of Marion County, we have to watch very, very closely for that cell wandering or stumbling into the area. So there's again the velocity product, and as our live radar sweeps around, we'll just kind of zoom in, and you can see it's right. If there was a tornado, it would be right over 121 right now, just outside of Romeo, okay? You can see the reds and the greens close together. Now, this is our Doppler radar. We're shooting very, very high up, but I've got to tell you, out of all the radar sources that we have available to us, this is the best one we've got. The National Weather Service in Jacksonville, let me just switch over, and this is under their jurisdiction. It's not a very clear shot. Their radar signature is scanning higher. The National Weather Service office in Tampa also scanning higher. So our radar, for all intents and purposes, gives us, at least for now, the clearest shot. But if you have friends or family that are out in fellowship, or if you have friends or family that live in Williston, this is the time to take your tornado precautions, because while there's no confirmed tornado, and I'm curious as to why the Weather Service kind of did what they did, and it may just be this kind of cross-jurisdictional situation where the National Weather Service in Tampa issued the first warning, and then Jacksonville has jurisdiction over Marion, so they issued that. But with that said, I would think that we would get another tornado warning for areas like Williston, perhaps even northern Marion County, and up toward Micanopy. So again, this is not an immediate concern in our WESH 2 coverage area per se. This is really just skirting Marion County's western border, but for now it is not in Marion County. But again, looking at this imagery here, there's Williston right there on the top of your screen. The tornado warned cell is right in there, and it's that red and that green close together. So it's technically not in the WESH coverage area, but we're covering it because it's close enough, right? And because of that kind of situation where it is, let me just read to you what the National Weather Service said about this cell as our live radar kind of sweeps through, okay? So near Rainbow Lake Estates, capable of producing, okay? Capable of producing a tornado. Thankfully, we have not seen the direct indication. As a matter of fact, when we look at the radar tools, there are several tools available to us. This is what is known as the correlation coefficient. This is the Doppler radar's way of looking and seeing what type of particles it's indicating. So rain has a particular signature, the size of the drops, right? Hail has a particular signature, larger particulates in the atmosphere. Then once you get up toward debris, you've got big differing shapes and sizes. We're not seeing that indicated. At least this is the Jacksonville Doppler radar. Let's switch over to the Tampa radar. Also not seeing it. So for right now, rotation certainly indicated on our Doppler radar, but I've got to tell you, it's not in Marion County. I think that the Weather Service there just issued that warning because they were concerned that it may kind of make a little bit more of a right-hand turn. But the rotation indicated for us is up here, just south southwest of Williston, okay? So it's not in our coverage area. We're going to be monitoring this. The tornado warning, of course, continues until 8:30 this morning. National Weather Service really should cancel that because first off, it's not where they say it is, because it's already moved on. And if anything, I would say that in Marion County, if I was concerned of anywhere, it would be communities north of Fellowship, right around Williston, right around Micanopy, kind of in that extreme northern tier. But again, if you look at the National Weather Service radar, they're struggling to see it on their sources. We have full control over our radar, so it gives us a better eye. But the good news is that when you look at the velocity product, the rotation is right in here along 121, right where 121 and 41 intersect, and it's approaching Williston. It's not showing a debris signature for right now, but it is something that I'm concerned with. So if you've got friends or family in Williston, it's time to take those tornado precautions. Where does it go afterward, okay? This is a cell that, according to the Doppler radar here, this cell is moving at about 15 miles an hour, northeast at 15 miles an hour. So let me just put a track on this. As this cell moves northeast at 15 miles an hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a track on the rotation center itself, okay? So based on a 15 mile per hour motion toward the northeast, okay, over the next few minutes, Williston at 8:41, this tornado-warned cell would be moving in your direction. Micanopy at 9:33. And that does have this tornado-warned cell crossing into northern Marion County. We are in fairly rural territory here, which is certainly good news, but nevertheless, people do live here, and therefore we need to be at least very closely monitoring it. Let me zoom in the radar. I just want to call out some streets and some Tom, Dick, and Harry communities in the area, because it is very rural. There's a lake right there. Let me switch radar modes over here and just kind of get an idea of points of interest, what's around here. This is very rural. Highlands Baptist Church, Williston Municipal. Okay, so you're up near an airport there. Normal radar mode as we kind of switch over, and you can see that red shade in the sea of yellow. Okay, that red shade in the sea of yellow, that means that this would be a rain-wrapped tornado, which we know is the most dangerous type of tornadoes, okay? Lots of lightning in that cell. If you live in Marion County, certainly you are seeing that on the horizon. You're hearing those rumbles of thunder. Yeah, wow. Velocity just getting another sweep through, and our live Doppler radar continuing to show a clear-cut rotation signature here. So at the very least, you're talking about the threat of funnel clouds, but certainly this could be more. This could be more on the ground. We've not gotten any ground truth. All the impacts that we have had, or the indications that we have had, is that this is radar indicated, right? We've gotten no ground truth. Weather Service updating saying that the storm system surrounding this, which does include our West 2 coverage area, which does include western Marion County, that winds could be up to about 50 miles an hour, so sub-severe. But again, the big game is this mesocyclonic cell just southwest of Williston. So listen, if you live in Marion County and you've got friends or family that live in Williston, this is very rural area, but make sure that your friends and family take their tornado precautions at this time. What I think is interesting here, and I'm just talking out loud to you, is the fact that what you're seeing on screen is the rotation signature from our live Doppler radar. It's very clearly approaching Williston. There's a tornado warning for Marion County nowhere near this. I'm just curious as to why the Weather Service has a tornado warning down here. You see that red box? There is no rotation. There's no rotation there. The rotation is up here approaching Williston. I'm very curious as to why there's no tornado warning for that area warning our friends in Williston. It's in Marion County, nowhere near the circulation. I'm trying to put myself in the Weather Service's mind. There's no this is their radar. There's no rotation there. There is rotation approaching Williston. Our radar has a much better view of it, if I'm honest. And again, so I'm very confused as to what they're doing there. Dana says I'm in Marion County. Frank says call them. I mean, look, I'm not going to call them out on the phone. while I'm talking to you guys and gals. But this is definitely one of those, what are we doing, guys? I do, if you give me a few seconds, I do want to tweet this and maybe try and get their attention that way. Give me just a few seconds. Williston. I'm only doing this because I'm on the air and I don't want to be a schmuck to them, of course, but live data from our WESH radar shows rotation working toward Williston. Hey at NWS. What's their Twitter handle? I wouldn't be talking and doing this if I was on TV, but we're on social media, so frankly, NWS Jacksonville. No warning up there? Question mark. That's my passive ask. Now again, they don't have access to my live Doppler radar, so they can't see this data, but they issued a tornado warning earlier and the rotation looks just as clean as it did earlier. But hey, if you've got friends or family up that way, just make sure that they know that some nasty weather's moving in. Let me switch over and look at correlation coefficient, not getting any debris signatures, thankfully. But again, rotation working up toward Williston. So just a heads up. And it may cross into northern Marion County there. Again, I don't understand what they're doing keeping that tornado warning in Marion. That's just a very odd move in my opinion. All right. So anyway, new radar sweep coming through, and again, still tracking that rotation heading toward Williston. I would expect a tornado warning issued there, but at the very least, an SPS or something. All right, let me take you to the wider perspective. While we're still watching that tornado warn cell there, I do want to let you know what else is going on across Central Florida because we are tracking plenty of other showers and thunder showers and a stormy afternoon, okay? So let's start off with just kind of a look at the radar in that zone, and that obviously is our big story on Coffee Talk today. Here's a look at the overall first warning live Doppler radar. In addition to that cell heading toward Williston, I do want to take you over toward Citrus County, where we're watching yet again another kind of batch of nastier storms. Let's take a look at the velocity product on that. This is our live radar, and again, we're pretty far away from the data, so our radar is scanning up top, but there it does look like there is some broad circulation there around Spring Hill. Let me tap into the National Weather Service and Tampa's radar. Nothing clear-cut there, but definitely some decent winds out near Brooksville. This will work into northern portions of Sumter County there shortly. Back over to our live radar, and you can see some thunder and some lightning. So what's ahead for us, right? In addition to all of the nasty storms that we're watching this morning, another point of reference is just the fact that there are some storms this morning, but we have more storms in the forecast this afternoon, right? We're running up to about a 60% coverage of showers and thunder showers. And if anything, the atmosphere is showing you, right, that there could be some instability. Now, frankly, this makes sense. Let's talk about the overall atmospheric picture, okay? There's nothing big that has developed in the Gulf of Mexico, but there is something that's trying to get going. Let me show you the satellite and the radar, okay? So if you look at this, there's an old frontal boundary that is draped across North Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico. And models the last couple of days, especially the European model, trying to develop an area of low pressure out in the Gulf of Mexico, right? If that does develop, which it looks like it may be trying to do, whether or not it's tropical, that's for another day's discussion, right? But if that does develop, then that would put us on the right front quadrant of that area of low pressure. And in tropical terms, the right front quadrant does usually give us a little extra spin, a little extra torque, right? That said, that would explain why this morning we got this cell up into Levy County that prompted a tornado warning. And certainly, again, now, another cell that's kind of, or down around, Citrus County that's at least giving us some interesting elements there. Let's come back over to our first morning live Doppler radar. Let me come back up there toward Levy County and just see what's doing with that cell using our radar. Again, we're scanning high, but using our radar, high or not, our radar seems to give the best at least look at what's going on up there because we've got full control of our radar, so we're able to tilt it down if need be. There's definitely at least some upper level spin up there around Williston, right? I have no idea why the Weather Service is keeping that tornado warning in effect for Marion County. The cell has long since exited Marion County, at least in that polygonal box, which is on the southern side there of the screen. But, if I had friends or family that lived in Williston, I would at least be telling them to get to shelter, that safe room in their house. It's a nasty thunderstorm complex that's moving in. There's definitely some rotation. Happy to say that we're not seeing any kind of indication on our correlation coefficient of debris aloft, but there's still rotation showing up. This is our radar. The Jacksonville Weather Service office, this is their radar that they see. I don't really see much on their radar. But, Tampa's radar is showing it. Tampa's radar is showing it pretty well. There's our radar, and there's the Tampa radar. So, I don't know. Being that this is a kind of a radar rough area, I'm curious as to why they have not gone ahead and issued a tornado warning, or at least some sort of another advisory. But that's not my job, right? My job is to broadcast to you. That's not the onus of responsibility does not fall on me when it comes to that. But here we are talking about it because I do feel the responsibility of at least letting you know, right? So, all right. I don't know, guys. I definitely am curious about that, though. Yeah. All right. Any questions that you all have? Taylor says time to board up the windows and hoard the bread. Yeah, thankfully, no. Thankfully, that's not the case. But I have a concern as to why we've... there's the tornado warning. Thank you, National Weather Service Office in Jacksonville, Florida. All right? Tornado warning through 8:45 for Levy County. Thank you. All right, let's see if I can read the advisory that they put out. Good gravy. I don't know. It's a radar indicated tornado warning. I'm just glad that they finally issued it. All right. So again, Williston, this does not include Marion County, at least this one, but there's a definite rotation signature heading toward Williston. Okay. That is not in the West 2 coverage area, but I think that our radar has the best coverage right now. It's a very noisy radar analysis there, but it's rotation nonetheless, okay? All right, I guess I need to watch the weather more. Woke up to this. Looks like it's going to get nasty out. Well, if there's an area of low pressure developing in the Gulf, then there certainly would put us into a kind of a right front quadrant. And you know what? Let's come over and just kind of analyze some of these other cells that are coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, right? Let me switch over. Our radar is not the closest. Tampa's radar is the closest, so that's going to give you the best imagery. And there's definitely some winds in there, right? In all these other little cells. So these are definitely little things that we need to watch, and that includes this little cluster here that's working over toward Sumter County. Back over to our live radar, and this is our live radar that we're looking at. I got to tell you, we've done some real work on our radar, and it's doing beautifully. So anyway, showers and thunder showers, lots of them moving through our area, and frankly, the atmosphere is showing that there's just enough torque. Remember, though, the reality is that it doesn't take much to spin up a weak tornado in Florida, right? That said, we see that the atmosphere at least is supportive of that. So we do have to watch things very, very closely. Tom says someone saw our tweet. I will say, though, that this brings up a concern for me, a concern that we've had at WESH, which is we have a live working radar. And not only that, we have a good knowledge of using our live radar and making radar adjustments. And it's one of those things, look at that radar signature up there in Williston. There's definitely rotation heading toward Williston. But it does make me want to be able to share the live radar feed from our radar to the National Weather Service offices in Melbourne, Jacksonville, and Tampa. Because in a case like this, where Marion County is not a great radar covered area, but whose radar is closer? Whose radar is able to scan lower, right? Like we have full control, so we can tilt our radar way down. Weather Service cannot. And so, it's one of those things I've always wanted to share our live radar data with the National Weather Service. And in a case like this, where maybe their radar didn't see it very well this morning, at least, by tweeting it, I'd like to think that I was able to at least give them another view of radar so that they could make a warning determination, because there should have been a warning earlier up there in Levy County. Maybe I should have tweeted them earlier, but instead I was talking to you good people, and and for that, I apologize. Maybe next time I'll have to do that quicker. Stephen, any confirmed tornadoes? No confirmed tornadoes, but there's a definite rotation signature showing up there. Now let's check in and see correlation coefficient. Thankfully, not seeing any indications of debris aloft, but that's the Tampa National Weather Service office radar. There's green and red close together, right? Here's our radar, green and red close together. So there's a definite rotation signature there. It is not in the WESH 2 coverage area, but it's close. If you live in Fellowship, Citra, Anthony, Reddick, certainly you go through Williston from time to time. Certainly you've been through there. You've got maybe friends or family through there. So I want to make sure to identify it. And if this was a tornado on the ground, it would be a rain-wrapped tornado, because you see all that rain in there. So certainly that is a concern, right? So just keep that in mind. Again, just to kind of reiterate, tornado warning in effect for Levy County through 8:45. The radar is also trying to indicate some little bit of hail element to that, because it's at the end of the day, it's a tall storm, right? So it's definitely something to be monitored. Now, it will move out of our area. It will cross over into Alachua County, and it will eventually get closer and closer to the National Weather Service radar there in Jacksonville. But there you go. The greens and the reds. When we look at the Doppler radar wind, think of it like this. The red is winds going in one direction. The green is winds going in another direction. And so we've got a clear indication of that rotation there, which is why I'm very grateful that the National Weather Service went ahead and issued that tornado warning. Jan says, Kellyanne just showed updated warning too. Good. I had a feeling that all this crazy heat would produce something. Well, and we've got an area of low pressure trying to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. And as that happens, it puts us, we talk about right front quadrant a lot, sure, right? When it comes to tropical systems. But when it comes to regular storm systems, that's not any different. Okay, it may be a little ramped down from a tropical system, but it's still that same concern. So because of that, same concern here. There's an area of low pressure that's trying to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. We're kind of on that right side, so we're going to have a little bit of an extra spin component to the atmosphere. All right, the main reason we watch you is because you know your S and take it seriously. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Well, and again, this is going to be one of those interesting scenarios, right? Where it's not in my coverage area, but it's awful close. And so I know that people that live here have friends or family that are over in Williston. So I just want to make sure to cover it. My mom works in Reddick. I just called her and said it's very nasty out. Oh, for sure, it's nasty out. Absolutely. Any rain for South Palm Bay? Yeah, so let's take a minute. We'll come back to the radar here in a moment, but let's just take a minute and update Futurecast, okay? And you can kind of see through lunchtime our western areas with showers and storms. Through early afternoon, we're going to popcorn up more storms across the metro, but you notice the more intense, those yellows and oranges and reds, those are out west. Those are going to be cells to be watched. And again, given the atmosphere, given what we've already learned today, we know that the atmosphere is at least a little supportive for these stronger storms. There's 4:35 o'clock working through the metro, the stronger elements of those showers and those thunder showers, right? And then it all kind of works off toward Brevard County, Volusia County, Flagler County. Now, you had asked about Brevard, Volusia, Flagler, so there you go. But what about rotation, right? Let's take a look at our Futurecast's rotation product. If I can find it. I know it's there. Bup. That's hail. That's thunder. Where are you? There you are. Helicity. Perfect. All right. So let's just look at the Futurecast rotation product through the morning. And you can kind of see there is elements of rotation in our western areas, right? You see that there into Sumter County. It's not a ton. It's weak rotation, but there is a buoyancy element. And then through 5 p.m., you kind of see that buoyancy moves over toward like Brevard County. So that is definitely something to watch today. It's not just showers and thunder showers. There is also this element of shear in the atmosphere, right? Let's come back over to that cell heading toward Gainesville, but still showing, man, if I was next to Manalfi right now, what would I be saying? I would be saying our radar is doing a hell of a job, frankly. Working right up 121 into State Road 41 and Williston. A pretty decent rotation couplet. You could see it there on the Tampa National Weather Service radar. You could see it. Oh, wrong button. You could see it on our radar. So where would it be? If there was anything, more than likely it would be right in there, right at 121 on the approach to southwest Williston. We're not talking about a huge metropolitan area, certainly. But people live there. There's something like 2,500 people that are impacted by this warning. And I don't care if there's one person. I want to make sure that if that one person happens to be tuning to us, that they know what's going on. I do want to take a look at this other cell here, this other little discrete cell in Citrus County. Thankfully not seeing much. Let me switch over to Tampa radar. Yeah, although this cell here off the shoreline, let me switch over. Tampa radar's closest, so that's going to give us the best look. But this one out near Bayonet Point, Holiday, Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs. If we look at the Tampa National Weather Service radar, it's not strong, but there's definitely some at least inkling there of rotation. So there's that. Okay, so any questions, comments, concerns? Again, just to kind of reiterate, we had a tornado warning for Marion County briefly. Not really sure what the Weather Service was doing with that. But there is a rotating storm in Levy County working up toward Alachua County that does not include our area, but it is a rotating storm system that is moving up toward, and again, I'll bring up the radar one last time just to zoom into it here. A rain-wrapped, if it is a tornado or a funnel cloud, it would be a rain-wrapped scenario, but up toward Williston, and our radar is sampling this thing quite well. That's our live radar. Tampa. Jacksonville. All right, now we're starting to at least pick up on it a little bit in Jacksonville. But yeah, that's our radar site. I still think that, oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry. There's our radar showing rotation on kind of the southwest side of Williston. Jacksonville radar picking up on it a little bit. So, thankfully for us, it's not a concern in the West 2 coverage area. There's our live radar. But again, tornado warning in effect for Williston, 2,800 people in Levy County. That goes until 8:45, okay? Any questions, comments, concerns for us today? We've got plenty of showers and thunder showers. We did briefly chat about the 12-hour forecast showing plenty of storms around. Just cancel delete. Looks like a new tornado warning for Marion County. Let's come back over here. Okay, so what they did is the National Weather Service went ahead and updated their tornado warning, and they're including Marion as it looks like it may be making a little bit more of a right-hand turn. Let's lapse this just to get an idea. Yeah, so it may scrape into the extreme tip there of Marion County. So new tornado warning in effect for Marion County. We can very clearly see it on our WESH 2 first warning Doppler radar. So the new tornado warning, just to give you an illustration here, the new tornado warning or warned area does include up here on the approach to Micanopy. Okay, so it's that area, that little sliver there. That's what the National Weather Service went ahead and issued this tornado warning for. Okay, so tornado warning in effect now for Marion County. It's a fairly rural area, certainly, as is most of Marion County. But my biggest concern, as we come back over to the just standard Doppler radar mode, is that if there was a tornado on the ground, it would be rain wrapped. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's take a look and see. Williston, Northeast 220th Street, approaching the western side there of Highway 318, Highway 320, Highway 316. I know that there's a lot of gook there on the map, but if there was a tornado, it would be very near Williston, kind of crossing over. Let me just widen this shot out just a little bit here and lapse this. And you can very clearly kind of see that rotation. The green in the sea of red, that green is the winds going in another direction there, okay? So it is that green in the sea of red that gives us the illustration of the rotation showing up. I think that it will just barely cross over into Marion County, but it is going to be in that vicinity, right? So it's definitely something that we're going to have to keep tabs on. I would say Williston right now. And another point of note is that we have not gotten any indication of this being a tornado on the ground. It is a radar indicated tornado, okay? Mainly rural communities, but keep in mind, okay? Keep in mind, very heavy rainfall around this tornado warned cell. Let's take a look at the correlation coefficient product. And again, this is something we use during tornado situations to illustrate where debris could be. This correlation coefficient looks not at rain, but it looks at the particles, the size of the particles, and it illustrates differences in sizes. Thankfully, not seeing anything that would illustrate, anything that would be debris. But it'll let you know, raindrops are one size. Hail is another size. And it's fairly consistent. So like, for example, you see those reds and almost like purples. That's telling me that we've got a lot of rain, right? A lot of rain. You see just southwest of Williston, it's kind of a little yellowish, orangish. That's letting us know that perhaps we're looking at some hail. When you see like a big hit of blue or, green, that sort of thing, that would be an indicator of hail. Also, just getting word now that there is a ground stop in effect for Orlando International Airport for arriving traffic due to volume. And what that usually means when you see that type of a scenario, right? When you see that type of a scenario, it's because air traffic is starting to back up heading into Orlando International Airport. Let's go out to the wider perspective and you can see, traffic coming in. If we just go to the national composite, let me go to the Florida view and let me just go from our live radar. I'm going to turn on the national composite of the radar here. But flights coming in, there's only so many narrow windows between Jacksonville and like the offshore waters. And so because of that, the folks with the FAA are having to channel folks through certain Victor Airways, certain jet airways. And so things are starting to back up. So just a heads up, if you've got folks traveling into town, arrivals are starting to back up over at Orlando International Airport. Okay. All right. Let's switch over to our conventional radar, live radar, see what's doing. We'll zoom in here. And yeah, I mean, there's definite rotation up there. And it looks like it may cross into Marion. Let's switch over to Jacksonville, see what their radar is showing. Yeah, northwest of Williston. I don't think that this is going to be moving into Marion County. I don't think. If I was a betting man, I would say that this is probably going to be like literally just missing Marion County. That's where I would say that this is located and is moving. Okay, so that's kind of, one man's opinion, one man's perspective. But That's kind of what I think. But either way, no matter how you slice it, we're talking about a tornado warning in effect for Levy until 8:45, Marion and Alachua until 9 o'clock this morning because of this cell. Now, keep in mind, it's getting further and further away from our west radar, so my coverage is going to be getting kind of diminished more and more here over the next few minutes' time. But reds and greens on the north side there of Williston, no indication that this is on the ground right now. Okay, that's the good news. Melissa's asking, what, a tornado? Thankfully, no confirmed tornado on the ground. But still, a tornado warning, meaning that there is a possibility. You're also running into an issue where Levy County is under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service office in Tampa. Marion and Alachua counties are under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service office in Jacksonville. So that's why you've got two different warnings there. Terry says, my weather radio just went off saying tornado warning from western Marion County. Is it the old one or the new one? So it's a new one. It's that northwest sliver there of Marion County. All right, let me try and get caught up with the comments. Jackie, I absolutely appreciate every early information and warning, even if it's just information. Being aware there's a possibility is better than being surprised. That's 100% the way that we approach this, right? And if you live in Central Florida, right? If you live in the metro area, right? You're like, what's going on? There's nothing happening. Let me come over here and just kind of show you. There's nothing, right? Like our live radar in the metro is quiet. Cool. It's not going to stay that way all day, but it's quiet. And certainly those are the kinds of scenarios that we like. I do want to come back over here and just look and just see around Spring Hill, Brook Ridge, Brooksville. I mean, I got to be honest. That little area there near Spring Hill, I'm shooting pretty high. Let me switch over to the Tampa radar. Not much. Maybe a little bit of something. But, there's a little something there. There's a little something there. So we may have a little bit of a busy day, especially in our western areas. We may have a little bit of a busy day today. I don't love those days. But nevertheless, it's what it is, and we'll be tracking it for you. All right, back up here to that tornado warned cell. If there was a tornado, it would be around Williston, and it would be a rain-wrapped tornado. But there's our live radar off of our WESH Doppler radar, and it's still tracking. When you've got a sea of red and you've got green kind of infiltrating, you've got that little kink in the atmosphere, and it's that little kink that has us at least concerned. And you can kind of see as I loop this, working right through Williston. Again, I don't think that this would move into Alachua or into Marion County. I think that it's going to stay probably just outside of Marion County, but good on the National Weather Service in Jacksonville for trying to be proactive on this, for sure. Vanessa says, a lady on TV said a second warning. I don't know. I'm using the live data, so I don't know if you're even watching WESH. If you're watching Kellyanne, I don't know what she's saying, but I could tell you that this is the second warning for Marion, but that the earlier one has been canceled. This is just for Marion, okay? Major roadways in Williston, US 27, 121. Most businesses on 121. Schools are on 121. And you can see that this tornado warned cell has lifted right up 121, and it's now getting up toward 27 there. So, yes, it's there. Yeah. Can you talk about when and where this system is traveling? Well, it's moving up toward Alachua County. So, again, it's staying outside of our area. But if we look at the day as a whole, here's Futurecast. And this is the reason that I think we'll have to watch this particularly closely. Because while we do have these storms now, we do kind of get into a little bit of a lull. It looks like brand new Futurecast data. This morning, nastier storms out west. Then we quiet things down a little bit for the mid part of the day, right? Then we start pulsing it back up by 2:33, again in our western areas. And then by about 4, 5 o'clock, we're getting into the metro with nasty storms pushing over toward the I-95 corridor by 6:30, 7 o'clock. And in that time frame, in addition to all of this, right, you've got the heating of the day. So we did show the Futurecast model product, and that Futurecast model product did indeed show that there was buoyancy in the atmosphere, that there was rotation in the atmosphere. So it's definitely something that we're going to be watching closely. Tornado warning in effect for Marion County, although this If it was a tornado, this rain-wrapped cell would be probably staying outside of Marion County, just checking my correlation coefficient data. Not seeing, thankfully, any indication of a tornado on the ground causing any kind of debris. And yeah, as we're moving into Alachua County, my radar is going to start working less and less effectively because it's getting further and further away from the radar. Thus, it's atmospherically less curvature of the earth kind of thing. But there's the National Weather Service radar in Jacksonville. If there was a tornado on the ground or a tornado around, a funnel cloud, that sort of thing, would be right there, northwest of Williston, working up toward Micanopy, okay? All right, so the tornado warning for Marion County, I think, is just a precautionary measure. I do not think that this will cross over into Marion, but I do think that through the day today, we're going to be watching very, very closely, certainly, the potential of these rotating cells, okay? All right, to the tropics, happy to say that out of everything that's out there, none of them are threats to us. Let's, though, take a minute. We'll kind of come out of tornado warning coverage, okay? And we'll get back over to our standard coffee talk coverage just for a few minutes. Let me just turn all of this. Bada bing, bada boom, bada boom. Okay, let's get back to our kind of standard coffee talk for a few minutes here. And we'll come back over to take a look at that in a few moments' time. But let's look to the tropics here locally, because remember, we're coming up toward the last cycle of the Floreaster. And I do want to at least point out, there's Earl lifting to the north. The GFS keeps it just off to the east of Bermuda. Right? Then a sea of high pressure, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th. Thankfully, nothing crazy going on. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. This is September 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Nothing crazy. Little area of low pressure out in the Gulf. Little area of low pressure out near the United States and British Virgin Islands. That's as far out as the models go, but something interesting there. Let's look at the ensembles. Hit that. And let's just go toward the end, because I want to point out at the end of the time frame here, I know it's the very end of the time frame, but the pattern fits it, so at least I want to mention it, right? But if we look at the very end of the time frame here, around the 20th, 21st, 22nd, the ensemble members are trying to show stuff around Florida. The BSR does confirm that time frame. There, by the way, the updated radar. Let me just pull up the BSR. Right, so the BSR shows something in just southwest of Florida along an old front in that time frame. So around the 21st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of September, watch around Florida, friends. That's the last run of the Floreaster, interestingly enough. All right, so there's that tornado warning cell now north of Williston, crossing over to Alachua counties. Tornado warning is in effect for Marion County, though I'll just tell you, the tornado warning runs until 9 a.m. Thankfully, there is no risk of a tornado in Marion County, at least at the moment. It looks like that rotation is going to continue to stay well west of Marion County. All right. Again, here's a look at our WESH live radar, and it's backing up the exact data that we're getting from the National Weather Service office in Jacksonville. There is the rotation couplet off of our radar. If we look at it on the Jacksonville radar, it's in that exact same spot. Glad that at least we've gotten further north to where the Weather Service can sample it better. So, I think that we're getting out of our WESH's radars kind of coverage, and we're getting into the National Weather Service radars coverage. One thing in radar meteorology, believe it or not, my friends, the curvature of the Earth is a real thing. What? The Earth isn't flat? You don't say. So because of that, you try to use the closest radar you have access to. Now, you can circumvent that by tilting it down, which we can do. The Weather Service cannot. The lowest elevation that they get is 0.5 above the horizon. I can go to 0. I can go to negative if I wanted to. So at least there's that. All right? So at least there's that. Is that a mesocycle, much like we get? Yeah, mesocyclone, absolutely. Yeah, it's a mesocyclone. Yep. What does purple indicate? I don't even know what you're talking about. Vanessa says, sorry, I'm a nerd, just not as good as you and Tony. Well, it's fine. We all started somewhere too. All right, so that's kind of where we're at right now, friends. Tornado warning cell crossing over U.S. Highway 27 right on the Levy-Alachua County border, just outside of Marion County, but the National Weather Service office went ahead and issued that tornado warning for rural northwest Marion County just as a precaution, just in case it wanted to kind of curve over our direction. All right. DH over on YouTube says, here in Melbourne, it's nice out for sure. I know later it's going to be stormy. Indeed, it is. Ashley, thank you very much. As it turns out, I'm not the #1 meteorologist. According to Orlando Weekly, I'm the #3 meteorologist. Oh, well. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Terry, absolutely my pleasure. Does anybody have any questions? Lance, hey, Eric, how's the weather in Sumter County in Lady Lake? So let's take a look. Back over to our wide radar. Give me a moment. Turn that around. I'm going to switch back to our WESH radar. Hit that. And Sumter, you're fine, but there are some of these little discrete cells that are working your direction. Let me lapse this radar data here. And you can see around Spring Hill and Brooksville, those cells there. Using my velocity product, I've got a pretty decent little rotation signature near Spring Hill. But of course, the Tampa radar isn't all that far away, and the Tampa radar doesn't have anything much, but a little something heading toward Brooksville. Not much of a signature there, but something just northwest of Spring Hill. So, yeah, I mean, there's something there. Tampa radar, not much. Yeah, not much. That's why you always like to use your closest radar. But at any rate, you can see ours is a little more blobby than the Weather Service office in Jacksonville because they're the closest radar to you. But yeah, there are some thunderstorms that are going to be working your area. Again, this afternoon, we know we're getting into a stormy pattern, right? 60% coverage of storms. And given that that there's an area of low pressure trying to develop out in the Gulf of Mexico, remember, we kind of find ourselves in a bit more of a destabilized atmospheric environment. So we'll have to watch and see how this plays out today. Hopefully it doesn't. Purple on the radar. Which version of the radar, though? That's the problem. If we're talking about the correlation coefficient, it's just very heavy rainfall. If you're talking about Futurecast, it's just very heavy rainfall, that sort of thing, right? All right, looks like the tornado warning for Levy County has expired as it is 8:45 right now. Ground stop continues at Orlando International Airport. And if there was a tornado on here, my friends, it would be a rain-wrapped tornado. Just a reminder, the tornado warning runs until 9 o'clock. But as we look in on our velocity product, yeah, see, I don't know why the Jacksonville folks changed their radar modes around. Oh, I see. Okay, so Jacksonville's going on a shorter range PRF. Tampa's going on a longer range PRF so that we can scan this. So Tampa's covering it at least for now, and then it'll move over. So this is the Tampa radar. The Jacksonville radar switched their radar modes, and here, I'll show you the difference. And when I talk about the knowledge of the radar, it's a big deal. Like, look at how Jacksonville was in long range mode, and then as soon as they change their PRF, you see how it goes to garbage? It's the same thing with how we run our radar, right? Like, you have to know how to make tweaks to the actual radar transmission to get the reception that you want, all right? So we've been tweaking and adjusting the radar little by little to be able to track this thing as it moves out. But there is the rotation signature itself over U.S. Highway 27, about to cross from Levy County over into Alachua County. Again, outside of the WESH 2 coverage area, but it is there, and it is something that we're watching, all right? And you can see it's just about into Alachua County now. Let's see here. Update from the National Weather Service office. Okay, that cell. Conditions are favorable for brief funnel clouds. Can briefly touch down, producing wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. But it is all radar indicated, okay? So the good news is for now, none of this is confirmed, okay? That's good. That's the way we like to be. Yeah. All right. So that's what we've got for you, friends. Listen, be the sunshine in someone else's day, okay? If any other warnings pop up, we will let you know, all right? Be good.